Welcome to episode 18 of the Zooch and Wilde podcast. Zooch, our podcast can finally buy cigarettes in some states, get drafted, and vote. This
They
is
can.
episode
I can't believe it's
18.
been that long.
I
It
know
feels
it
like
will.
yesterday that I was watching Michael Penix just throw Hail Mary after Hail Mary on our secondary in Seattle.
Our poor
Watching my parlay
secondary.
die.
Yeah, our poor secondary. But it's the end of the season. What a season it's been. I think this season objectively has been a phenomenal season. And I don't say that a lot. I didn't really like the COVID season. I thought it was meh. I think some of the years when Alabama was kind of running through teams, it was kind of meh. But I think this year has been fun. And I think what's made it fun is that college football as a sport has been growing so much that I think you got a lot of new eyes onto it.
Yeah.
So people like me and you got to share, because people were going who is this Butch Jones guy crying? And then it's like, oh, you just opened Pandora's box, man. So yeah, but it's all coming to a close. But we had two great semifinal games. Zooch, it was
They were
something else.
fantastic. They were both I was nervous in both of them, and I didn't really care who won the game. Like the Michigan, Michigan finally had their I feel like that was their signature win. Yeah, they beat Ohio State and stuff like that, but to not really be able to move the ball for 2.5 quarters, get it with 4 minutes left, and go right down the field and score, it was huge.
Yeah, dude, this game was something. I mean, the Rose Bowl is always awesome. Also, before I start, there's two things I want to say. The first is if Tyler Lewis is listening, that's for you. I'm sorry, JJ McCarthy. I'm sorry, Tyler Lewis, for doubting Michigan. There was a lot this week that I was right about, which I will go into. This is something I was wrong about. I was wrong about Michigan because JJ McCarthy showed up. But I'm gonna backdoor this a little bit. Michigan did still play with their butts tight. We saw all the special teams mistakes that honestly almost cost them the game.
Yeah, that last one where the guy muffed it on the 1 yard line was I was talking to Cody and he was dying laughing because he's I texted in the group chat and I was like, this is going to be hilarious when Michigan scores with a minute and a half left and then has their hearts broken when Alabama scores with 23 seconds left. Michigan scores and I swear I thought, here we go. Alabama's going to have a drive where Jalen Milroe completes 6 straight passes or
Yep.
on 3rd and 12 scrambles for a first, something just an Alabama way to win, but they didn't get it done, and Michigan tried to even give it to him then, muffing it on the one. I can't believe that guy even tried to catch that ball.
No, I'm
Right
telling
there.
you, it also makes it super funny when it's Jim's son or nephew who's the special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
Was it Jay Harbaugh?
Jay
Is the
Harbaugh.
special teams coordinator for Michigan? But honestly, other than special teams, Michigan's offense showed up, and JJ McCarthy especially showed up. I think for all the McCarthy fans over this season, and I feel like there weren't many McCarthy fans outside of Ann Arbor coming into this game. This is the game where NFL scouts are going to point to and go, "This is peak McCarthy." He is the most poised. He can make throws when he needs to. He can run a pro style offense. He's not phased by anything. He can make every throw on the field. This was JJ McCarthy's best game of the year. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, because even he had that first pass that you could tell he was a little nervous. That was hilarious.
Oh, I thought the tight buttholes take was gonna knock out of the park. Oh, I was so ready.
It was that was funny. Just in and of itself, just the first play of the game of interception. Michigan fans are I was watching Dave Portnoy
Oh my god!
his
he was sitting in the box.
Yeah, he was sitting in the box with his mom. Just he really cares because anyone who really cares about a sport, you have the people who have the over the top reactions that you're okay, I get it, you're doing it for a stream or whatever, but when someone just starts blinking and it's speechless, that's when they're locked into a game. But yeah, I mean, after that though, most of his passes were drops or the guys just didn't get their hands on it. I thought he played way better than Jalen Milroe did. Jalen Milroe had a tough game. He was Buffalo.
He was the Buffalo, and I think he played about the perfect Buffalo game. Like, that was the Buffalo game. It was the highest of highs, the lowest of lows, and let's get into Alabama for a little bit. Alabama's defense, I felt played well. It was
I did.
just like something was missing, and I
I
think it
think
was just like this is just be me, I'll let you say what it is. I think it was, like, cohesion on offense because I think they had the talent. I think it was just, like, they could never get it right. Like, they're
yeah,
always almost right on
yeah, always
offense.
almost right. Couldn't for the first half pass block at all. Like
That poor
no,
center, he transferred.
yeah, it was so bad. He is no longer with
I
the
did
team.
There may or may not have been a Twitter reply of a certain president saying, get him out," that a Tide fan commented under that. Mean. Mean.
Twitter was fantastic after that, especially with that last play where Jalen Noro. I've
Yes,
seen a
he
bunch of different
slipped.
stuff. Yeah, of people saying like what should have happened on it, but that play on Twitter was making the rounds, and there were some great quote
I mean,
tweets on it.
Tommy Reese. I mean, see, like, I don't even want to blame it all on that play, but I mean, I don't even think he scores, even if even if the ball snapped well.
No,
But
there was a lot that went wrong. It wasn't just a snap that was wrong on that play. It was a snap. I read that he was supposed to follow the pulling guard, and then someone said it was supposed to be an RPO. So who knows what exactly the play was supposed to be? I don't think it was supposed to be that him just running into everybody on the entire Michigan team, but he
yeah,
did, and Michigan got their win.
I think that the way you describe that play kind of, I think, encapsulates Alabama's Rose Bowl performance as a whole. It's just like something's off. Like, you don't know what. Like, everything looks like it should work. Everything looks good, but it just doesn't work
I
because
mean,
something's messed up. I feel
that
like
was
that was
kind
their
of how
whole
they
game.
were all year
Also,
long. Like I thought they were gonna win, but if you like look back at the team this year, like they looked that way against Texas, they looked that way against USF, they really looked that way against Auburn. Which looking back, I wish I would have thought, oh yeah, like yeah, they beat Georgia, but to be playing like that late in the season against Auburn, who's not good at all,
I think he did.
that I should have raised the eyebrow at that.
I mean, you just think because over the years, Saban's been able to kind of get things together. And I think when me and you both chose Alabama to win this game, is it safe to say? Because I think I'm trying to reason like why I did pick Alabama too, because I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be wrong. But I think as I was picking Saban, I think I might have stated it before. Like, Saban is kind of like the Brady Patriots, where
Yeah.
like you don't pick against the Brady Patriots until like they've really, really proved that they are like butt. And I'm like, you just keep picking Saban until he proves otherwise. And he hadn't proved otherwise all year, minus the Texas game. And you go, oh, well, that's a playoff team, and he'll get his revenge in the next game. So I don't know. I think Alabama didn't play the best, but this is not a case, in my opinion, of Alabama losing the game. Michigan won this game.
Yeah, I
Michigan
think so
said
too.
Michigan beat them on offense and on defense. It's just because tight butthole Jay Harbaugh and the special teams almost gave it up. And credit, I don't know who the Alabama special teams coordinator is, but he called the game of his life. It's too bad that they lost. The punting team was great. The guy kicked a couple 50-yarders. That one guy also. Have you seen the rounds of is it Will Reichert, the Alabama kicker?
Yeah.
Have you seen the Great Clips commercial that's making its rounds on Twitter
No,
of
I
Will
haven't.
Reichert? Oh no, let me look this up. But this is a commercial or an NIL deal he's in, and let's just say that the internet had its fun making fun of this poor guy.
Oh no.
Okay, let me see if I can find it. Yep. All right, about to share my screen because it was just not. It was very mean. You can imagine what Twitter was doing with
Oh
this poor
no.
guy. Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, this
And
this
he was
poor
ice
guy.
cold in the game. He like
Oh shoot, we got like. Yeah, go for it.
He couldn't miss during the
Yeah, look,
game.
ice in his veins, man. Good for Will Riker, leading scorer in like Alabama history, but can't win against Harbaugh. And Harbaugh, last thing I'm going to say about this, Jim Harbaugh finally gets over the hump. How about that?
He does. It was just, and it's like the most. Jim Harbaugh is one of those coaches. It's fun to watch because like it'll show him after something bad happens, and he just has like a perplexed look on his face, like
Yeah.
24/7. Like you can tell. I cannot imagine being a big Michigan fan and being like, all right, let's go to the game, and you get out there, you're like, oh, I think we're gonna win. Like we might lose, but we should win this game most likely. And then everything's just going wrong, and then you think you're gonna get the ball back with a chance to go win, and then you muff that punt at the one. I would have
Oh, my heart would have sank. My heart would have sank. Those 3 seconds when that ball's on the ground probably would have been like the worst 3 seconds of my life. 3-3-3. What a game. But let's move on to the other playoff game. Washington, we're going to hide that because I spelt Washington wrong again. But Washington versus Texas. Oh, that's twice. That's 2 weeks in a row. I spelt Washington wrong. Oh, I hate this. But you know who I don't hate is Michael Penix because me and you have been on him all year. And he torched Texas's DBs. That's what I was right about.
some of those throws were like he did torch him, but some of those throws were perfect.
No,
Like
it was
like the one that comes to mind is that I want to say it was in the fourth quarter, maybe it was the third, when he threw it between both safeties. That was just like, I don't even know what you would tell your defensive back. So I thought on a lot of those throws, like not the very first drive where the guy was like wide open and it was like a 70-something yard gain, but they were like playing pretty good coverage, like as on them as you can possibly be, and he was just putting the ball to where like you're not
he's
stopping
legit.
him.
He's legit. And what is so funny about Michael Penix is I love when people out themselves like, oh, you don't really watch like football like west of the Rockies, do you? Because there's some people who go on, Michael Penix, this guy's got some zip. It's like, did you watch like the Oregon game? Because I mean,
He's
it
filthy.
didn't come as this magnitude, but he made 2 or 3 of those exact same throws against Oregon and against USC. Like the one at USC where he found his tight end in the corner of the end zone. It's probably like the best throw that he had all year up until
Right.
this game.
Yeah, and speaking of this game, I've recently come under attack by Washington fans
Yeah.
from a tweet when they hired Kalen DeVore like 3 years ago of like, and I don't even remember tweeting it, but he like goes to do a high five and like they miss, and I tweeted like based on this high five and gave like a 5-year record pan out of like the most wins he had was 9, and I have like Washington fans all over my Twitter right now like, yeah, good prediction, bozo. How does it feel? Purple rain.
Well, that means that tweet has been there since what? Kalen DeVore got hired in 2021.
It was
so he's had that bookmark for 3 years.
Yeah, I tweeted it because I was like, what the hell are these guys talking about? It was,
and I want you to read the username. I want you to read the username of the person.
11/29/21 is when I tweeted it, and I said based on the high five and gave like a record prediction. And Dog for Life said, "You, my friend, are an amazing predictor. Ha 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 ha! Bow down." That was one of them. And then I got another one that was from 425 Dog 6384. That was great prediction there, bud. Purple rain with the Simpsons gif. And I bow down to death row, retweeted it. So I like didn't even, I was like, when I first saw him, I was like, I didn't say anything bad about Washington. And like maybe I like made fun of him during the BSU game, but it was like not even that one. I'm like basing it off his high five. It's clearly a joke, but
yeah, I mean, if I was Washington, man, I would be just as obnoxious, and for good reason. They got a great, honestly, might be the best. Would you say this Washington team's got the best offense that we've seen since Joe Burrow?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's there
better than
at times it looks unstoppable.
Maybe the COVID Alabama, but I think in terms like visually, like maybe the COVID Alabama put up better numbers, but this like visually, because they don't run the ball a lot, it's just like, oh my goodness, and just like the chunk plays they're able to get. Oh my goodness, they might have 3 receivers taken in the first 2 rounds next year. Like,
Yeah,
it's
and it was,
insane.
and they tried their best. I was
Oh, yes. So
That
let's
would
talk
have
about the end of
been
the game.
if I was a Washington fan, and I kid you not, I thought whenever Texas got down the field and there was 1 second left, I was like, this is like a redo of that Nebraska and the down
Nebraska, yep,
Nebraska. I was like,
the redo of the
this is
Nebraska game.
I never watch college football again if I'm a Washington fan, and because you're like thinking the whole time, like, all right, sweet, like we got the ball, like they're gonna get the ball at 18 seconds left, and then that guy gets hurt, and you're like, okay,
no.
well, they got like 50 seconds or whatever it is, and then
And they got the whole field to drive. And
the
then
big
I
play
felt
happens.
people forget about the play before the big play. That I feel so bad because that long snapper, that was the longest 5 minutes of his life. Because there's no way that guy's on scholarship either. But he just decides to smash the guy before the ball gets there. 15-yard penalty. Quinn Ewers makes a good throw, and you're just sitting there like, oh my goodness. But yeah, when that second went back on the clock, I immediately was like, Nebraska, like this is Nebraska all over again. This is Nebraska all over again. But let's talk Texas. Oh, go for it.
It was about Texas. Texas, while they lost, they are back. We had a Texas fan offering his kids up to fight Washington fans.
Yep. Texas is back. Texas is back. And I love when the guy says, he goes, yeah, remember me. Yeah, I'm sure the 21-year-old in the national championship is going to remember the random fan of the team he played. Yeah, I'm sure that's a real smart thing to say. But yes, Texas is back, but they weren't back in this game. I did like how the Texas D line played. They were my Buffalo last week. I think they did a great job of stuffing the run. I think, like you said, this was just. I don't even think their DBs are bad. I think their DBs are fine. I think, but fine DBs can't beat three elite receivers. And Washington has 3 receivers that could be number ones at 90% of all of the schools.
Especially when Michael Penix was as on as it was just. I mean, he completed like 18 straight passes, and then that streak shouldn't have been broken, but the running back dropped one that he was like, wide open for. But it was just like, you saw it at the end of the game that they ran that like deep play, and the guy was wide open, and he threw it like 60 yards in the air, and it would have been a touchdown probably without the PI. And it was just like they really couldn't get I think they had to drop so many people into coverage because those guys were getting so open that's what affected them getting to him, because
they couldn't blitz because then you just get the one-on-ones.
Yeah, you get the one-on-ones, and someone was going to be more wide open than they already were. So
yeah, the last thing I'm going to say about this game is talk a little bit about Quinn Ewers. I think this can be used as a good learning tool for him, because while I didn't think he played terrible, good is not the word I would use to describe his performance. I thought he played fine. But when you're the quarterback at Texas and you've shown that you can play like the best quarterback in the Big 12 and you're playing in the playoff, fine quarterback play doesn't, at least with this Texas team, maybe unless you're a Saban Alabama team, fine quarterback play doesn't win you a natty anymore. The years of the Jake Cokers are almost all but over. I guess Stetson Bennett is a little bit of the outlier kind of in the last decade.
But even he played great in those big games, better than Jake Coker would.
Yeah, or better than Ewers did. But Texas is back. I do think they're going to be good next year. Although, last thing I will actually say is to whoever tweeted the picture of the monster from Monsters Inc. and said this is Sark. Jail. Yes. You need to go to jail. I'm not even going to show it because it's so mean. But it's the orange monster with the horn with the 2116 or whatever the code was. And someone said, this is Sark. And it was just not okay.
We need, during college football playoff, especially next year when it's a 12-team playoff and there will be even more memes, we need Elon Musk to be on Twitter like, all right, your account has to go until the playoffs are over.
Yeah.
You can no longer be tweeting stuff. We had the Trump get him out of here with the
Yeah.
center. We had the Sark as the Monsters Inc. guy. There was many more that we can't say on like out loud because they were just way over the top. It was just bad. Bad
It
all
was
around.
very bad. It's college football fans. They are the craziest bunch of fans ever, and that's why I love it. But very last game, Zooch, the Natty. Let's preview a little bit just quickly. We got Washington versus Michigan. I think this game comes down to again is can Washington prove they are tough? I think they proved they are tough enough to beat a Texas. Michigan is the toughest team in the country in terms of
Yep.
running the football, playing straight up defense, going, this is what we played, beat us. And I think it's going to take another generational game by Penix to win.
I do too, and I think Texas is a little different than Michigan because their defense isn't nearly as good as Michigan's is. Like I was surprised that Michigan, like I tweeted or sent to you guys on the group chat the sloth before the game started. And said
Yeah,
the
Big 10 speed.
Yeah. So,
again, not okay. That is so. There are kids who work their whole life, Zooch, to play Division I football. There's some poor wide receiver who probably saw that at Minnesota and went, "Aw."
he was heartbroken. He was rowing the boat and got heartbroken.
Rowing the boat.
But I think Michigan's game plan is going to be take their time. Like I think Michigan's going to want to go on like 5-6 minute drives. Like they'll take their shots every once in a while, but I think Michigan, kind of like in that game the other day, like Michigan didn't. I mean, I know they tried like the flea flicker at that one point and it got all messed up. That was going to be a pretty big play if it had worked out, but I don't see them as taking a ton of deep shots. And I know Washington's pass defense is like 118th or whatever it is, but I think part of that is too that Washington was up by so much in a lot of their games that teams were throwing it 55 times a game. It wasn't, Washington was winning every game like USC, like, oh, if we're going to win, it's going to be 55-49. Washington was up 49-20 at halftime or 49-14, and teams would come out throwing it. So I think that, like you said, I think Washington is going to have to score, not on every drive, but I think Washington is going to have to be very, very productive when they're on offense. And they have been all year, so maybe they can.
I think they're going to have to be productive on offense and chaotic, as I think is the word I'm going to use on defense. And I'm going to say it again. I think Michigan is still prone to playing with the tight butthole. I think JJ McCarthy proves that he is the real deal. So I'm not going to lump JJ McCarthy in that, but I think Michigan still proves that they can play with a tight butthole. And I think that Washington has to be chaotic on defense and special teams. And maybe the chaos is handed to them by Michigan. Maybe Michigan has an unforced error. Then Washington needs to capitalize. Washington is the underdog in this, so I think turnovers. It sounds so cliche to say, but I do think Washington's going to need an unforced error from Michigan, like one of those classic Harbaugh team big moment, like a guy who never messes up, like a Blake Corum fumble, or like a blocked punt, like something absolutely wild like that's going to need to happen for, I think, Washington to win. For Michigan, I think JJ McCarthy needs to have another great game like Alabama. And I think if the DBs of Michigan are ready for the challenge, because the DBs for Michigan are good. Like there's NFL talent on that defensive back. They're not Texas defensive backs. They're solid. So I think but again, this rides on JJ McCarthy. Like it really does, and it's on him because Blake Corum, you can do that like 5-6 minute drive stuff. If Michael Penix is on, he's on, and then you're playing Washington's game. JJ McCarthy has the ability to let Michigan dictate the pace of play.
Right. I just hope that Washington, I'm not as worried about Michigan doing it because I think Michigan can really only play the way they play. Like there's no other way for them to play. I just hope Washington doesn't come out and try to change up what has worked for them for 13 games or 14 games, whatever they are, 14-0. Do what you've been doing. Come out, throw it a bunch. You don't need to rely on the running game. Make them stop your receivers. Make them stop Michael Penix. Even if like the first couple of drives, like they are. Keep those guys running deep down the field and see if you can tire them out. Because I don't think Michigan is used still to playing a team. I think that team, like Alabama, yeah, they have some like playmakers on offense, but they don't have the receivers Washington does. And I don't think Michigan has still seen an offense like Washington that is going to spread you out like that. Like, who is the best quarterback Michigan has played this year?
I don't know about best quarterback, but the most similar offense is the Ohio State offense. And Ohio State was driving for a chance to, was it win or tie the game? Like, that's probably the best.
Yeah, I think it was I don't remember, but it was, the end of the game.
So
one of the two.
Ohio State played Michigan well, and Washington has a better quarterback than McCord, who we will get into later. But last thing about this game, Zooch, we got a 4.5 Michigan's favorite in it. Who do you got winning, and does Washington cover?
I think I'm going to go with Michigan to win. I just feel like it's set up for them to win this year. But I'm not like confident in that. Like, I'm not like over the moon. Like, oh, I think Michigan's definitely going to do it. I think Michigan will be able to score a little bit more now that they've played a game than they did. I think last week a lot of that was, like you said, nerves, but I think part of it too was there's such a long gap. I mean, they played Iowa the week after Thanksgiving, right? So like December 1st, whatever it was. That game, they waited a month to play another game. Like, that's a long time to go without, play. And you know that they're not doing like fall camp type stuff really, because it's, you don't want to get people hurt. And
does Washington cover though?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Michigan wins 34-28.
Okay. And Michigan, you flip me. Not. I think Washington wins this game. I think Washington wins this game for a couple reasons. I do think Michigan's going to have that unforced error. I do think there is going to be some, crazy thing that happens on the Michigan team that shouldn't happen and usually doesn't happen because Michigan's good. I think BJ McCarthy plays fine, but he doesn't play like at an elite level. Like, I think he's going to have a solid game, a good game. But I don't think, it's going to come down to, I think, Washington's. This is going to be a Michael Penix coming out party. This is going to be the game, I think, that gets Michael Penix drafted like 20 places too high, like to the Raiders or something. Like, this is
on the Raiders. I'm high on Michael Penix.
This is like the total, like, Mark Davis watches this game, goes, we got to get that guy, man. Oh boy, look at him throw that ball, lefty.
I can't wait for the draft because that's going to come up, him being a lefty. It's still like, I love the draft just because it's hilarious to watch people like talk about it, and like they talk about the same, like, if you think about like however many years, like they don't do it as much now, but like system quarterback used to be a huge thing. Like, whenever they'd be like, he didn't take snaps under center, and then you would be watching the NFL and you're like, dude, like, no, everything is in shotgun or pistol now. Who cares if he didn't take a snap? And also,
it's like, it's their job now. Like, you don't think an NFL coach is going to be like, yeah, you're just going to take snaps every day for like 4 months. Like, this is your job. Like, take it seriously. And it's just, it is beyond me. But yeah, that's our natty preview. So I guess we're going to see who's right. I got Washington. Zooch, you got Michigan. We're going to see.
Amazing blue.
We're going to do a quick NY6 recap. But before, Zooch, I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to talk to Penn State fans who may have thought that Ole Miss was going to lose. You have 30 seconds.
Oh,
anything you want to say.
The funniest part about that is, and I don't know if I sent it to you or not, but someone had taken a photo of a Penn State fan texting like his girlfriend or wife or whoever it was, and he's like, they've started an SEC chant, but it's okay because I have thick skin. That was a great one. And then the best one, though, was the Penn State fan who was like, we're going to lose this game. Not in one way. Like, they're going to beat us on the field, but their girls are 10 times better looking
No.
than our girls.
Oh
And the Ole Miss
no.
fans use that one on Twitter multiple times.
Ole
It's
Miss.
been
Well,
a
yeah.
it's been a good year to be an Ole Miss fan. 11 wins, losses
Like I
to
said,
Georgia and Alabama.
that's all you want for Ole Miss in this like version of the playoff or like in the 4 team. That's all Ole Miss can ask for. You win a New Year's Six, you'll probably be ranked within the top 10 postseason. You'll be happy. But New Year's Six was very good for me predicting games. I went 4 for 6 predicting. Only 2 I got wrong was the Rose Bowl, and I can't believe I'm doing this, Zooch. I can't believe I'm gonna have to do this. Eli Drinkowitz. Get my cap. Wait, no. I did pick Mizzou to cover though. So, thank you, Eli. But yeah, my tap. I was shitting on Mizzou all year. I shat on Mizzou all year, and you proved me wrong. Okay, I know now. Now, some people may say, well, Ohio State didn't take it seriously and had like 10 guys sitting out. I wouldn't say that. This is just what some people are saying. So, yeah, that was awesome. Eli Drinkowitz is a good coach for Mizzou. I think Mizzou does need to do like the Ole Miss strategy of just like make a New Year's Six and have fun.
Yeah, especially at the 12-team win will be a little interesting, specifically for Ole Miss next year. I think the expectations are they better be in that from.
Yeah, because you can be a third place SEC team and probably get in.
Yeah, and like the media is high on them right now because of which they did have someone transfer today, which we'll talk about.
We'll talk about that in like 5
in a
minutes.
little bit, but I'm glad the playoff games were good because that Ole Miss Penn State game was the best non-playoff New Year's Six game, and it wasn't like I felt like Ole Miss was pretty much in control for
the whole time,
at
least 3 quarters.
Yeah, so I mean the Liberty started out strong.
Yeah, let's get into that. Liberty Bibberty, as
Speaking
I would
of mean, whoever said that the Liberty quarterback looks like the bad guy from Jingle All the Way with the helmet on, mean. Also mean.
Well, I mean, his helmet makes it look like he's 50 inches taller than he actually is. But Zooch, you got the text after like at halftime of the Fiesta Bowl of just I said Liberty almost has almost killed the G5 chance of playoff because all the smooth brains out there were like, oh, this is the G5 can't play. No, maybe like Liberty sucks and was like the 4th best G5 team.
Right.
Like SMU and Tulane, probably Memphis, all would have been better.
I agree, but I do with these new. I
also don't want to hear it. Conference USA, don't stop. Never. We should never let a Conference USA team into an important bowl game again.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you think these executives of these teams that sponsor bowl games, these companies that sponsor bowl games are happy the 12-team playoff is coming? Because this year, there's not a lot of fans at that Fiesta Bowl. Like I saw a thing of the pregame tailgate, and there was nobody there. That was a blowout. The Florida State Clemson game was a blowout.
Yeah.
I just think that if that continued and it was 4 teams, you would start seeing sponsors not want to put in that much money with guys like opting out and stuff like that. I mean, like any other year, if you had Florida State and Georgia in a Orange Bowl without the transfer portal and opt-outs and stuff like that, you would be licking your chops as a executive of, who is it, Discover? Don't they do the Orange Bowl?
Yeah.
They did at one point. I don't know who exactly is the sponsor of it now, but when that many people sit out, like, and I know there's still a lot of Florida State fans there, but also it was in Miami, so like you're gonna have Florida State fans coming to the game.
It's interesting. It's tough. I don't think it's because of like the poor play. I don't think a group of 5. I think Liberty is a sham of a program and a football program. I think they're like, if you look up fraud in the dictionary, it's Liberty. You play the weakest schedule. You just pump money into a team because you play crap Conference USA. I think Jamie Chadwell is a good coach. I think that's probably the only reason why they made it that far. But I don't think the 12-team playoff is going to solve the bowl game issue because they're not doing like bowl games as all playoff games. They're still doing the what's it called? Like they're gonna have home playoff games that morph into the two games that are the playoff, and then it goes into the national championship game, while the other four games are just regular New Year's Six. So yeah, I still love New Year's Six. I do also think that Liberty, I like that visual of the Fiesta Bowl was very pathetic. I
I
think it
thought they
was
would
just
have more fans there. Honestly, I was
I
like,
th-
oh, like
I think it was just the perfect storm of Oregon, even though they're a big fan base, being a little disappointed because you go, man, we couldn't beat one team, and that's why we're not playing for a natty. There just happens to be one team in our conference. And you have Liberty, who, like I said, is a sham of a program and is across the country. So, oh well. But yeah, speaking of shams of programs, Miami still can't find a quarterback in the transfer portal. They went all in on Cam Ward, man.
and he released his like 4 second long. I'm going to the
I love
NFL
that.
draft.
Love that. As a Cam Ward guy myself, I love that. Just I'm going to the NFL draft. Thank you. But yeah, a lot on the transfer portal. Some a lot of quarterback transfer news. You got Will Howard now at Ohio State. Kyle McCord now at Syracuse. Uh, I guess and any other quarterback news I'm missing, Zooch? I know there's the one
I
from
don't.
Boise State, but other than that,
He's gonna immediately get back on the plane when
I
his.
hope. Okay, yes. So for those of you who didn't see, Malachi Nelson, former number one recruit in the country, shocked a lot of the college football world by saying he was taking his first official visit to Boise for Boise State. And it's so funny, as we're obviously Boise fans, you read the comments. The comments of those give you a good gauge of like where people think Boise is. And it's kind of split. Like there's a lot of people who go like, this guy's an idiot, and then like in the reply it'll be like, well, actually like Boise's pretty good. And then another guy would be like, I thought they haven't been good in like 10 years. And then another guy would be like, oh, they like won their conference. And someone's like, oh, I didn't know that. So that's like kind of like it's nice to see what people think outside of like my little Bronco bubble, just to kind of get dueling perspective. But Malachi Nelson took his official visit to Boise, and man, if Boise gets Malachi Nelson, you will see the playoff hype train, because there is still that one spot grow.
I penciled
Blow
in
through
the
the
Oregon
roof.
game as a win. I'm penciling it
Yeah.
in as a win. Until I was not penciling it until as a win until we got a 5-star who has never played a down of football at college, I don't think, with an arm injury became our quarterback, or possibly became our quarterback. And then I penciled it in as a win.
He penciled in as a win. I guess the things I've known about Malachi since high school, when he was playing at Los Alamitos down in Southern California. Um, but nothing. All the cons about Malachi, I don't see watching a highlight tape. Like none of them. Like I don't know how this guy was a third string. Like it couldn't have been physical talent, because he can make every throw. So I saw some people say like, oh, like maybe he doesn't want to try. Maybe it's like the injury. Maybe he just didn't want to be at USC. And like I could totally understand like quitting on USC last year because they suck. So like who knows? I'm not going to be one of those guys who say, "Oh, Malachi Nelson sucks." Yeah, he hasn't played a down of college football, and he was a 5-star recruit. I'm going to give him the benefit of a doubt of him being really good until he proves otherwise.
Well, I think too with him, and I don't remember if it was you or Troy I was talking to it about. I think you're going to see a lot more of those 5 and 4-star guys going to schools like Boise
Trickle down.
State,
It's the trickle down.
because so many schools are like Oregon, for example. Their last,
You can't hoard talent.
You can't hoard talent, and their last, even before Bo Nix came there, like they've been getting transfer quarterbacks for years now, but even more so now, where it's like, all right, we had Bo Nix for our 2 years. We're gonna go get Dylan Gabriel, have him for a year. Next year we'll look around and whoever's gonna be available.
You know what?
Because you have the 2 transfer rule, so it's like,
Yeah, you know what?
I
The
think that's
last
part of it
guy,
too. Is
the last guy that they recruited and started was Justin Herbert, because the guy after Herbert was a transfer, and then they had, even before Herbert, they had the Vernon Hargraves guy from Eastern Washington. But I 100% agree with the fact that a lot of these programs, this is when people say like slow down, the NIL will like self-correct. It's like I don't think boosters in the next couple of years are just going to throw a ton of money at transfers because they see that they can just transfer again now. And
right.
I also think, like you said, that when you have these teams that just can always pluck like the best quarterback, like, oh, we're just going to get the best quarterback every year. If you're an 18-year-old, you're gonna go, screw that. Like, I'm gonna try to play and then be that guy. And then if you're a team like Boise, you can be like, well, hopefully he only needs to play like 1 or 2 years and we can win, and then he can go to the NFL. Like, that's like, you can
Right.
take a shot on a guy like Malachi Nelson, who I bet Malachi, I don't know what he's thinking, but a lot of people are saying like, oh, he'll just go to Boise and transfer out after a couple years. Well, that means he played really, really well, or he was an absolute dud. So if he played really, really well, that means Boise was winning, which I'll take. And if he was a dud, he's a dud.
Right.
So I don't know. The transfer portal's fun, and we're going to end the transfer portal's talk on Zooch. Thoughts on Quinshon Judkins transferring, entering the portal from Ole Miss.
So the way this happened was, I was been looking at wedding venues all day today. We show up to the first one. I went to bed too late last night. I was already tired. Literally, as we pull into the place, I get the Brett McMurphy, Ole Miss star running back,
Great account.
Quinshon Judkins has entered the transfer portal. I'm like, great. Now I can't like immediately go on Twitter because I have to pay attention to all this stuff that's going on. That all the venues look the same to me, basically, is what I'm getting at. But I saw it, and I don't think it's like, not that it's not a big deal. I've been on Quinshon Judkins for a while. I tell you guys about him all the time, how good I think he is and stuff. That being said, I think that Ole Miss and the Grove Collective, which is their big NIL thing, made the smarter move of making sure they had a good quarterback in Jackson Dart. I think a quarterback is way more important than having a good running back in college or pro. Beefed up the defensive line. I mean, if you told me Ole Miss is going to keep Jackson Dart, Trey Harris is going to be really good, they're going to have the number one receiver, and like making sure that the defensive line is all like bundled up, like they have, I think, the number one, number two defensive line, like PL, and number one defensive end. So
yeah, it'll be interesting.
Quinshon Judkins can leave. Like, I don't, and I also read there's a lot of like, it was a mutual thing because he wasn't happy with how he was being used, and now he wants, like, one guy said he wanted 3 times his NIL evaluation, which was, his NIL evaluation was like $500,000.
So he wanted like a 7-figure deal.
Yeah, like if he wants 1.5 million, he's not.
He can't get that at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and I feel like you can maybe not completely replace him because yes, he is very good, but Lane Kiffin's offenses are never bad, so it's not like he's gonna, like, him leaving. Like, I don't bring down my expectations much for what I think they're gonna do next year because he is leaving. And if he was like, I mean, I saw like stuff like when Jackson Dart was like getting into it with Lane Kiffin on the sideline, people were saying that was because he wanted Judkins out of the game because he wasn't like listening. Something was going on, and like that may be
Jackson Dart. You see the Tom Brady post that he made, a little sly remark at Judkins. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially if Judkins ends up going to like an SEC school that like could possibly compete against Ole Miss. That'll be a fun game to watch. But transfer portal always exciting, and Lane Kiffin seems to be the master at it. I love how he just posts like he knows everything crazy is going on in Rebel World, and everyone's freaking out, and then he just posts like his fishing post, like his picture, like he just posts the fishing picture.
And I don't know how true it was, but let me go to that account that I saw it on. I saw that now one of the rumors is Jace McClellan is going to enter the transfer portal from Alabama, and that's who Ole Miss is going to get.
Jace McClellan, like the
Alabama running back.
Tide Nation will not be happy
because it'll be his 6th year, I think, maybe his 5th, but one of the two, and it just, I mean, I get it from Quinshon Judkins' point of view too. He probably saw a lot of guys coming in and getting money and stuff, but you're a running back, dude. Like, sorry, like, you're more easily replaceable than 3 really good defensive linemen, a really good quarterback, and receivers. Like, you're easier to replace.
Yeah. I totally get that. All right, let's quickly end the show with Hilo Buffalo. Let's go Hilo Buffalo individual performances in the Natty. I will start it off. First one is Rome Odunze. I had him last week, but James Polk was the guy. I think Rome Odunze is going to be the guy again. Double dipping, picking him twice in a row. I think Rome Odunze is going to have a great game. Talking over 100 yards receiving, touchdown or two. I think Rome Odunze is going to take over the game at one point.
Romaduze, he's your high. My
Yes.
high is going to be Colston Loveland.
The Idaho guy, right on.
I think he's going to be able to get open and really benefit from some play action.
Yeah, that if Michigan can get the ball moving, Loveland seems to be the king of the flag route, like the play action flag route. And he always gets hit low. I always just wince because I think he's going to shred an ACL every time he gets hit. But he's good. Is very, very good. Part of the reason why a lot of people have Gatlin Bear to Michigan is because of Colston Loveland. So very interesting to see. My low, kind of alluded to it before, is Michigan special teams again. I think they mess up again. I know like that makes no sense because I know that like they're probably drilling like special teams in this week. I think they're gonna mess up again, and I'm fully prefacing this. This is straight gut feeling. There's no logic in this whatsoever in this like choosing. But yeah, I got Michigan special teams. That's my low again.
So my low, and I think it's because they're going to have to throw it more than expected. He had a great run the other day. Blake Corum. I think he's going to have an okay game, but not anywhere near like being the MVP of the game.
Okay, so you're pretty much predicting a JJ McCarthy MVP.
Yeah, I think JJ McCarthy's going to have to throw it, and I think he'll be fine.
Fair. My Buffalo of the game, and I alluded to them before, are the Michigan DBs. They control more than any other group, probably minus the Washington passing attack, control the game. Because if they step up and play, Washington is so hosed. Like if Washington can't win one-on-ones, they are hosed. So if the Michigan DBs lock up, and they're a good bunch, and they played well against Bama. I don't think they've played a challenge like Washington. I know they're up to the challenge because they always got talent. But yeah, Michigan DBs are my Buffalo.
So my Buffalo is the same thing. Michigan DBs. If they're not on their game, it's going to be because I don't know that Michigan can get down like 21-3 and come back.
Yeah, no, I don't think they can either. Although, unless Kalen DeBoer plays weird again, because he's like the classic like can't run out the clock guy. That's the one thing you get scared about Washington, is that's like those old school Chip Kelly teams, just like, dude, just run out the clock. But he's like, I don't know what to do. It's like the movie Speed with Keanu Reeves. He's like, he can't go under 45 miles an hour or whatever. He always has to go. So, oh my goodness. But what a season, man. It'll be over next week. The next episode is going to be the postseason show.
It will. And did you say we can end on this? If you told me,
I want to get one more thing in. We possibly announcement will be posted next week. Might be doing a live reaction, so there might be a Zooch and Wilde podcast show up on Tuesday of next week because we want that live raw reaction. It'll only be about a 15-20 minute, but there may be one posted post national championship game. Announcements coming on the Settle Down Instagram page if that's happening. Zooch, what do we ended on?
If you told me, and I'm pretty sure you saw this video, that Jim Harbaugh's father was actually just Jim Harbaugh dressed as an old man, I would have believed you. That is the most shocking resemblance I've ever seen in the entirety.
I also think he kind of explains John Harbaugh like so well, because he's just like such an opposite. Like you can just tell, like it's something from it was part of my take, and it was like, yeah, like John Harbaugh is probably like one of the most low-key toughest guys ever, even though he never shows it, because he just grew up with a complete psychopath in Jim Harbaugh. That's his brother.
I was laughing at that video because when I first saw it, I thought it was Jim Harbaugh with his mom. And I was like, oh no, this guy's like older. Who is it? So I'm like, oh, it's the
Jim Harbaugh's
father.
dad.
Dresses the same glasses, like wears the same like
Kind of M hat.
kind of M hat that like Bo Schembechler wore in like
Yeah.
1961. It was
Oh
great. But
my
yeah,
goodness.
looking forward to the national title game. I guess a lot of people expected Michigan to be there, and some people expected Washington. But it's a nice change. It's not
It is a nice
Alabama,
change. It's going to be a
Clemson,
unique
Georgia.
champ.
So
Having a unique champ, or just having like a unique team in it last year. Like I felt like TCU in it last year was it was fun. So
right,
yeah, we're gonna have a unique champ. A monster will be created because we will have a unique champ. So just get ready for that. There will be a monster fan base created, and just take in the last game of what was a great year. This was a great year. Take it all in, Zooch. Anything else?
nothing else. Not looking forward to these next 9-ish months of no college football after Monday.
That is what the recruiting portal and off-season storylines are for.
Yeah.
And college basketball following John Rothstein or Joe Rothstein's for. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will see you next week. Godspeed.